What up, my peeps? So, once again, I know sometimes I don't make videos for a while. You guys know I work two jobs. Sometimes I got other stuff going on, and unfortunately, my father-in-law passed away. Just wanted to say something about him real quick. He passed away on Thursday. I don't remember what date that was, but he was a really good dude. He was 68 years old, so he still had a lot of years ahead of him. But unfortunately, he loved his brews, and that's what ended up getting him. He died of cirrhosis, and but he was a really hardworking dude. That's what I want everybody to know. He was at his job for 44 years. He was like he worked with aluminum and steel, so he was one of those dudes. He had like a big long beard, and he was at his job forever, man. Just a very well respected dude at his job, and um, so anyway, that's one of the reasons why I hadn't made a video for a little bit. But anyway, so this video is actually going to be a prison story, and then the second video I'm gonna try to do this week is also going to be a prison story. Um, it's kind of a funny one though. I mean, they're both kind of funny, but the video I'm gonna do right now, it's funny now, but at the time, like, um, so what I'm gonna say is like, I'm doing this video for educational purposes, and the reason I say that is because I know YouTube is probably gonna like probably flag this video or maybe demonetize it. Um, because of some of the stuff I'm going to talk about. But basically, like, I'm going to talk about some of the things that, as a CO, like that you can get accused of. So, like, anybody out there that's like, dumb enough or crazy enough to think they want to be a CO, um, it's among other things, being super dangerous, and I mean, it pays good. Being a CO pays pretty good now, a lot better than it used to. Um, but you're gonna get accused of shit too, like crazy, ridiculous shit too. And like a lot of times, I mean, I guess you can look at it two ways. Like, you know, if they want to make sure inmates aren't being mistreated or abused or anything, so they're gonna take accusations seriously. But sometimes it's like you got to use common sense and be like, look who's saying it and the kind of things they're saying. It's like, unless the person has like solid proof or like witnesses, I'm saying, like, some of it should just be thrown out the window, but usually it isn't. So anyway, so like that's what I'm gonna talk about this video is some of the things that I got accused of and that other COs that I worked with got accused of. Um, and the first one is going to be something that happened at CCA, Corrections Corporation of America. Like I've said before, it was U.S. Marshals and various other contracts. But this first story that I'm gonna talk about was basically one night. Um, I was working. Actually, I think I was like a roving officer that night, but I just happened to be in hanging out in new segregation with the CO that was working new segregation. I was cool with, and then there was another CO that was hanging out in there that I believe was like kitchen officer, but like kitchen officer, like for half the night, you're kind of like a roving officer that just takes care of like a lot of different like various duties, and then like in the middle of the night you go open up the kitchen, and then like all your kitchen workers show up. So it was like three of us that were hanging out in new segregation. um this white CO named Downing, it was his last name. He was a pretty cool dude. And then this this short, dark Mexican CO that I've talked about in some of my previous videos. His last name is Garcia. Some of the inmates used to call him Fat Burrito. He was a crazy dude. Just talked a lot of smack and was always like, just I don't know, up to crap. But so anyway, like we were in new seg, and we were like I've said before, new segregation was like our max custody unit, like with some of like our worst inmates. Well, basically that's where our highest level inmates were sent, was new segregation. And I got along with most of them in there pretty well because I worked that area a lot, right? So I had like pretty good level of respect with them. And so this particular night, like we were like shooting the shit, like just joking around and stuff, right? And no other convict or inmate in New Seg had an issue with us, right? Like we weren't being like disrespectfully loud or anything like that. Like no other inmate said anything except this dude. He was like I want to say maybe he was like in his 40s, kind of tall and skinny. And supposedly he was an AB, like an Aryan Brotherhood inmate. Um, he like just out of the blue, like just comes up to his window and like starts talking shit to us. He was like, "Yo, shut the fuck up," and we were like, "What?" I mean, if he would have like maybe right off the bat been like, "Hey man, I'm trying to sleep. You guys are keeping me up. Can you guys please keep it down?" Like, we probably would have been like, "All right," I mean, Garcia would have probably said something stupid. He was known for being a Kickstarter, and then I would have probably, or me or Quinn would have probably told, or me or Downing would have probably been like, "Dude, shut the fuck up," But so right off the bat, this dude was like, "Yo, shut the fuck up, you fucking stupid motherfuckers." I mean, he was just like going off on us, right? And at first, we were just like, "Man, dude, chill the fuck out, dude. Like, we ain't even being that loud." And he was like, "The fuck you ain't," like he was just like, dude had like just a shitty attitude or something. Like, I don't know. Maybe he was looking at it like a really long sentence or something, because dude was just a fucking miserable asshole. So like, he kept talking shit to us, and finally I was like, "Man, fuck this dude." I was like, Downing, I said, "Let me see your keys." And I was bluffing. I wasn't gonna open his door because it's not even worth it. It's on camera, so they would have had me on camera going into his cell and trying to fight the dude or whatever, right? I ain't just gonna outright say, I'm gonna go in there and beat his ass or whatever, because you never know. And I never took anybody lightly, even though he was like a skinny dude or whatever. I mean, he probably had a knife or something in his house, so I wasn't gonna be stupid enough to pop his door. You know what I mean? But I was like Downing, and they thought I was serious. Like they thought I was really gonna do it, because I really made it seem like I was really gonna do it, right? Because what I did was I put on some gloves and I said, "Downing, give me your fucking keys, dude." So he like kind of hesitantly handed me his keys. He was like, "You gonna pop his door?" I was like, "Yup, I'm gonna beat this motherfucker's ass." So I walk up to his cell door, and he's like looking through his window like this, right? And he's like, "You ain't coming in here, motherfucker." And I was like, "Watch, bitch." I said, "I'm about to come in there and beat your motherfucking ass." So I come up to the door, and it's like these big brass fucking keys. And so I stuck the door in the fucking, it's like a big ass fucking round, lock that you stick it into. I stuck the key in there, and no fucking joke, man. Not like, I don't know if the dude was scared of me or if he just like, I don't know what was wrong with him, because I thought he was a bad AB motherfucker, right? He fucking ran and dove underneath his fucking bunk. Under his fucking bunk, right? And I was like, "What the fuck?" I looked in his window and I was laughing. I was like, "You fucking pussy." He fucking like dove under his bed and shit, right? So they're laughing. They're like, "What is he jumped under his bed?" I said, "Yeah, this motherfucker's hiding under his bunk, and like fucking like barricaded himself under there and shit, like pulled some stuff in the way." So I was just like clowning his ass, right? So I think I told him some shit like and I don't even know why I told him this, but I was like, "Man, you ain't nothing but a shit talking motherfucker." I said, if you ever come out to GP, motherfucker, then we'll really see what's up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll see if you're down to fight or whatever, right? So I left him alone after that, and I went back and we talked for a little bit, and then we went, me and Garcia had to take off to go, do our duties or whatever. But so that motherfucker, like, I think it was maybe like 2 or 3 weeks later. I got called down to the captain's office, and it was this really cool ass captain that I knew from when I worked at DOC. He was a bad motherfucker. Like this dude was like basically like a legend among COs, man. Um, I'm trying to remember his name. Um, Fuck, what was his name? Some of the inmates at DOC used to call him Junkyard Dog because he was a big dude, man. He actually played he played linebacker in the USFL. He played for the fucking for the Arizona Outlaws, I think they were called. Um, if I remember his name, I'll say it. But anyway, he was a really cool ass dude, and so he calls me down to the captain's office, and I come in there, and he was like, Diaz. He goes, so do you remember an inmate name? He said the inmate's name. I don't remember. From NewSeg, you know. He goes, do you remember like a couple weeks ago? Did you have a verbal altercation with him? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, Loman. His name was Captain Loman. He's a badass dude. If he ever listens to his video, he knows he's the shit. He's like a living legend, you know. I think he rides a Harley and shit too. But anyway, so he was like, you know, I was like, yeah, you know, I remember I was like, well, what's up? He's like, well, this fucking, he kind of laughed when he said it because I think he already knew like that it was a false accusation, right? Because of some facts that I'm about to say, right? He goes, so he says on this particular night that, you know, that you disrespected him, you verbally threatened him, and then he says, this is the good part. He goes, this inmate claims that you zipped down your pants and you whipped out your cock and waved it at him. I was like, what? I was like, what the fuck? You know? And he's like, yeah. He says you like waved your cock at him, told him to suck my dick or something like that, you know? And I was like, dude, there ain't no fucking way, man. And I said, you already know. I said, there's cameras in there. You already know that didn't happen. And he's like, well, even if we reviewed the camera, it would show your back. Like we wouldn't be able to tell if you did it or not, you know? So I was like, oh, fuck. But he goes, the reason I know he's lying is because the date that he claimed that this happened, he said you were on a med run with Sergeant Mataneski. So you weren't even in the unit. He said he has the wrong date, you know, and everything. So, you know, thankfully it didn't go anywhere. I mean, because like he said, like, I don't know if the camera would have helped me or not, but it was some crazy bullshit that dude accused me of, right? So that was the first, like, really crazy thing I got accused of, right? So the next thing, and all these, like, stories that I'm going to talk about are all, like, basically like sexual accusations, right? And the reason that inmates, you know, usually go for that one is because obviously it's the most serious one, right? Like I think it obviously carries even more weight than like if you physically assaulted them, like just beat them down or something, right? So the next one was one night I think I was working in 900 unit segregation. I don't remember which pod, but I get called down to the captain's office, right? And I think I don't remember what captain it was. Doesn't matter anyway. But so a CO came down to 900 unit, relieved me, and said you need to go to the captain's office. I'm like, all right. So I go down there, and there's this freaking investigator sitting in the captain's office. I could tell he was an investigator because he was wearing like business attire, you know, and I had never seen him before, so I was like, oh fuck. So I come in there, and I think it was Captain Hazelton actually. So he's like, hey Diaz, he goes, this investigator wants to talk to you about something. I was like, okay. So he says, on such and such date in 1100 unit, so this was during the time when the 1100 unit was male inmates. Because for a while they had moved all the female inmates out of there, and they put in male inmates back in 1100. He says he names off this inmate that I had like a long history with this inmate, like, cause he had come back through CCA like about 2 or 3 different times, and this dude was like, he was like kind of like an older, like he was kind of like a cholo, like he was a Chicano, but he was a fucking asshole. Like I don't know what his problem was, but every time I seen him, he always kind of had this like, kind of like he was kind of like the type of dude that's like a friend of me. That's how I'll describe him. Like have you ever had somebody that acts like they're trying to be cool with you, but you can tell just by reading them, bro. Like I'm really good at that. I'm really good at reading people's like body language, their expression, maybe just like feeling their vibe. Like I can tell when somebody doesn't like me or doesn't mean me well most of the time. So this dude would always try to like come chop it up with me, but he would always like kind of have just like this foulness to him, you know? And the last verbal that I had had with him was an 1100 unit, and I remember like he kind of rolled up on me. He I think he was back for like his third time at CCA, and he rolled up on me and he tried to like dress me down, like he tried to like clown me. He was like, "Damn, Diaz," he goes, "What happened? What happened?" This is like, "Damn, you got fat, bro. Like you gained some weight, you know?" Because the last time he had seen me, like I was, you know, maybe a little bit skinnier, like a little bit better shape, because I was still kind of like fresh off, resigning from SORT, right? And so I was like thinking to myself, why are you fucking coming at me like this way, dude, right? So I've always been like real quick, like from growing up in the projects or, growing up in the hood, like you get real good at like comebacks because if anybody's listening and you grew up in the hood or whatever, you already know, man. When you're younger, that's all you do is talk smack to each other. You talk shit about each other. You clown each other. We called it ranking. That's all you do is you rank on each other. Some people call it snapping on each other or, whatever. Like there's different names for it. But so this dude rolled up on me and was like, "Damn, Diaz, what happened? You got fat, Holmes, this and that." And so I looked at him and I said, "That's all right." I said, "Yeah, I might have put on some pounds." I said, "Damn, you look tore down, bro. Like you look old as fuck and like run down. Like you've been fucking smoking rocks like every fucking day or some shit, you know?" So he kind of like, when I told him that, he kind of like did this face like, "Oh, like basically I fucked him up, I guess, right?" And so I think that was the reason he tried to do me dirty like this. So let me get back to what this fucking dude tried to say, right? So this inmate tried to say that I fucking I threatened to sexually assault him. Yeah. He tried to say basically, I don't even remember like the details of it, but yeah, he said like I told him I was gonna like come to his cell and I was gonna try to fuck him, I guess, Like that's what he said. And man, when that fucking investigator told me that, I was looking at him like, "You fucking serious, man? Like you really called me down there for this, right?" But I kind of laughed when he said that. And he's like, "Oh, you think this is funny?" I said, "What I think is funny that this inmate accused me of that is a piece of crap. And I know exactly why he's saying that, And he was like, "Well, this is a very serious thing, this and that." I'm like, "Yeah, I understand it. What you're saying, obviously, that's a very serious thing. But I said, I can assure you 100% that shit didn't happen." And he's like, "Oh, well, we're going to conduct this investigation and that's what we're intending to find out, So right off the bat, real quick, I've always been like a pretty quick thinker. I don't always make the best choices, but I've always been a pretty quick thinker. My first thought was, I said, "You know what? When did this supposedly happen?" And then like the date that this dude named off, I looked at the captain and I was like, "Captain," I said, "I've been assigned to 900 unit, or like segregation, basically like all the segregation units for like almost a year now." I said the last time, because 1100 unit it's a GP unit that's in the back of the facility. Like, for anybody that hasn't, heard a video about CCA, it's a really big facility. It houses like over like 3,500 detainees, and it's divided into the front half, which has all the segregation units and like maybe I think 3 GP units. and then the back half of the facility is like all GP units. Um, there's like maybe four or five of them back there, and but anyway, like so, I was like, Captain, the last time I worked, in the back half was like over a year ago. So I mean, this is like total bullshit. And I think the investigator said something like, well, that's what we're gonna find out, or some shit like that. And so I thought to myself, you know what? I said, hey, Captain, I said, can you check the shift report? Because I already knew captains have to keep a shift report for every night in the prison or every day in the prison of like any, like basically where every CO is like assigned on that day, right? And like anything that's significant that happens on that day. So as soon as I said that, the captain looked at me like, you're a pretty smart dude, you just might have saved your ass, right? So he's like, yeah, Diaz, of course. So he grabs a shift report, starts going back, and then he looks at the date and he's like, yep, he's like, on that date you were assigned to 900 Sierra Pod. And then I look at the, what do you call it, the investigator, and I was like, do you have any more questions for me? And then, man, that dude looked so pissed because, like, I swear some of them dudes, I'm not saying they're all like this, but some of them investigators, man, it's like they want to fuck you. Sorry I'm using that word, but, no pun intended. They want to hang you, man. Like, it's like another notch on their belt or something. But he looked so, like, he just had, like, this stupid look on his face. Like, he didn't know what to say, and he just kind of sat there and was like, and then the captain was like, do you have any more questions for Officer Diaz? And he's like, no. I'm like, thank you, sir. And I went back to my unit. So that was the end of that. But this third story that I'm going to talk about, this was like probably the scariest one. And like at the time, obviously, I didn't think it was funny. But like afterwards, like we all, like me and the other COs that were involved, like all laughed our asses off about it. So one night, I'm working. I was working medical one unit. It's like in the front half. It's like it's kind of like there's like a small area of Med One. Well, actually, it's like the main part of Med One is like kind of like segregation, and there's like ISO cells too that are for like inmates that might have like TB or something, like something that might be like contagious. They have like these cells that are like negative air cells or whatever. But anyway, like, so I was working Med 1 and I'm just chilling and the sergeant came through there just like, like I thought he was just making his rounds like to sign the logbooks and stuff, right? And I can't remember the sergeant's name. He was a really cool sergeant. He was like a really small Mexican dude. And he comes over to me, he's like, how are you doing tonight, Diaz? I was like, I'm cool, man. How are you doing, Sergeant? He's like, I'm good. He's like, but I have to talk to you about something like really serious. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, okay. Like I was totally shocked, right? And he waited till like all the medical staff was like, gone. Because he had actually been talking to me for a little bit, like just like everything was like normal, right? And then that's when he said, I got to talk to you about something very serious. And then so like, he was like, so he goes, you're familiar with inmate, I'm trying to remember the inmate's name. I don't remember his name, but there was this little inmate, this Paisa. And when he was on his meds, he was pretty chill and like, you could have a normal conversation with him and stuff. But when he went off of his meds, I don't know, I think he was like, he might have been like schizophrenic or something. But I know he was like delusional, like he had like hallucinations and shit. He would just like, this inmate, like no joke, would just talk shit nonstop when he was off his meds. And he would say some funny shit. But sometimes it was kind of annoying because he would just like, his favorite thing was to be like to talk about people's moms for some reason. Like his favorite thing was to say was, tu puta madre, hijo de tu puta madre. Like basically like calling your mom a bitch, or like not a, like a whore or something, right? And but that was just his thing that he liked to say. Anyways, he asked me, "Are you familiar with inmate so and so?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well," he goes, "Do you remember a particular night in 900 unit? I think it was Tango Pod. Um, so like, I think that night I think I was like a roving officer, like utility. That's what they call it. You just like, you kind of like roam around and like pick up paperwork and you do like fence checks and shit like that, backyard checks. Um, during this is all during the night on third shift. If I didn't mention that, so like, um, I was like, yeah, I'm familiar with him, and he's like, so on this particular night, this inmate is claiming that you, and he named off the four other officers. It was like this fucking shit kick-starting motherfucker named Turner. Like, if anybody from CCA is listening to this video, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. This dude was like a fucking, what do you call it? Compulsive liar, habitual liar. Like, he was always lying about all kinds of shit. But anyway, he was like a big time shit starter or kickstarter, I should say. He loved to fucking just piss the inmates off in segregation, one of those types, right? So it was me, Turner, this old really cool fucking officer named Officer Smith, and it's funny because he's Mexican, but his name was well, I won't say his first name, but he had a white first name and a last name. His last name was Smith, and he was like Mexican, like dark complected and shit. I don't know how the fuck he got the last name Smith, but so it was those two, and then Garcia was there again. Every time that little motherfucker was around, Fat Burrito, there was always like some shit going on, right? And then I think Downing was the other officer that was there, so it was five of us. And I don't remember how why there was so many officers. Like, I think one was like the next door officer from Sierra Pod. Like I said, I was a roving officer. Oh, and there was one of them. I think Smith was the he was doing like I don't know if it was a suicide watch or if it was just like had to have been a suicide watch, but it was on that inmate because he wasn't taking his meds. Like, he was off his meds and he was like acting all like crazy and shit. So I guess maybe they thought he was going to hurt himself or something, right? And then I think the other officer was the pod officer from Uniform Pod, the other seg pod next door, right? So, anyways, there was like, and then the fifth officer was the Garcia. I think he was a kitchen officer. So we were all just hanging out in Tangle Pod for whatever reason, right? It was the most interesting pod because that inmate was in there, I guess, and he was just talking shit to all of us, like calling our moms like fucking hija de puta, or calling our moms like whores and all kinds of shit, and so I have to say that they were kind of fucking with him and not trying to make me sound like I was this perfect officer that never did anything wrong, but one thing I didn't like to do was I didn't like to kickstart inmates, and I didn't like to fuck with inmates unless they fuck with me first, basically, right? So they were kind of teasing him, but I will say part of it is because anytime anybody would go by, he was like, because his food trap was open because, he was on, constant watch or suicide watch, right? So he would throw stuff out. Like, he was trying to like throw, like water. I think he was even trying to throw pee on people. And so he had gathered up like some milk cartons, or something, because whenever they're on suicide watch, they're not allowed to have anything like that because, they can use it to supposedly hurt themselves or something. But so he was using the little empty milk cartons to like try to throw stuff on us, right? So what they did was they waited for him to lay down on his bed, and I don't know if they thought he was asleep or if they knew he was asleep, or they knew he, was faking or something. But what they did was one of them snuck up to his door, and they, quietly stuck the key in the door, and then they opened the door real fast and they grabbed one of his milk cartons, or actually they grabbed like a whole bunch of them that were lined up. Well, I think they did it with their foot. They just opened the door and they kicked out all of his milk cartons, and then they slammed the door. And he like came running at the door and was like kicking the door and stuff, right? He got like all pissed, right? So 100%. That's all that happened. Like nobody put hands on him. Like nobody like tried to hurt him or anything like that. All it was just like teasing, you know. Um, so this dude, I guess he was so mad about it, like to get back at us. This dude, so let me just say it how the sergeant said it. He goes, Diaz, he goes, inmate so and so is made the accusation that yourself and these other officers that I just named off uh, anally raped him. But that's not the way he said it. He said you guys ass raped him. That's what he said. And like hopefully YouTube doesn't, fuck my video up for me saying that, but I'm just how you guys know how I am. I try to keep my videos like 100% raw and 100% real, because it's to me it's like it's lame when like you water shit down and like and don't say it like it really happened, right? So anyways, when that sergeant said that, I'm not even lying. My mouth must have like dropped down to like my fucking belly button because I was like, what the fuck? And he was like, yeah. He goes, he says that you all five of you like anally raped him, and I was like, man, in my mind, I was even like picturing like what the fuck that would look like. Like that's fucking crazy. Like that this dude would say that, right? And so I was like, well, obviously, like you guys know that's not true, right? And he goes, we do now. He goes, but he goes, Diaz. He goes, let me tell you how close you guys came to, or basically how close you guys came to dodging a fucking bullet. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, they took him to the hospital and did a rape kit on him. And when he said that shit, man, that fucking reality fucking set in like, motherfucker, that's crazy. That's the kind of shit that you fucking put up with as a CO that you can be accused of that that basically it's like dodging a fucking bullet, you know, just like how he said, and I was like, that's fucking nuts, man. I said, well, obviously it came back negative, right? And he's like, yeah. He goes, it came back negative, so they, basically told him, we know you're making it up, and he still like tried to like hang on to his story or whatever, but man, like that shit like fucking blew us away, man. And so like obviously at the end of that shift, when I seen those other COs in the parking lot, we were all talking about it and just like we were like, fuck, man, that's fucking crazy that he fucking came after us like that, and I mean, thank God that they actually did that rape kit on him and that they proved that, nothing happened to him, and thank God that he didn't somehow convince like any other inmates in that pod to like, like lie and say that, that they witnessed it or something, right? And that's the other thing the sergeant brought up too is like they, they basically they know it didn't happen because, because number one, because of the negative on the rape kit, and then number two, because, they questioned other inmates in there, and none of them said like, that they saw anything like that. They said, man, dude's fucking tripping, So thank God for those other inmates, being honest, and not like, just jumping on board and saying, fuck it, we're gonna, get these fucking COs, But yeah, so that's just some of the crazy shit that if you're thinking about becoming a CO or a DO at a jail, like that's some of the stuff you have to look forward to, kind of crazy shit you can be accused of. But anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. If you're not a member already, subscribe. I've got a few new subscribers. I noticed, my numbers kind of went up again a little bit. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. I've got a lot more stories to tell, and like you saw in this video, I try to keep it, real. I try to keep it 100% raw, and I don't hold back. I don't pull any punches, But I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to comment so I can interact with you guys. And then, until the next one, Your homeboy Big Cisco. Peace.